Hi there, let's look at the exam paper that is the higher physics exams. What is an exam? Well, for many, passing an exam is important not because you need to learn the content of the course, but because the exam pass is the key to other doors in your life. You might need an exam pass to get to university, to get to college, for an apprenticeship, or just for access to the workplace. But whatever the reason, we need to be aware of that reason and make your strategy about passing the exam about that. If you just need to get the pass because your goal is a good job, you obviously don't need to know the entire course, you just need to know enough to pass. If you need to get into physics at university, then an A pass is going to be super helpful, and you should be remembering as much of the course as possible. There's no judgments being made in these statements, it's just a fact of life that needs to be applied. You either need to pass the course or pass it well. But part of passing any course at any stage in your life is not only knowing the right amount of content, but how exam papers are put together. Everybody wants you to pass the course. No one is trying to make it so hard you don't pass, but at the same time, there is a minimum standard that's required. And you either need to hit that minimum standard to pass, or to get onto university, pass really well. Every exam is designed to test the understanding of the course you've just been through. These days, many exams help the student by structuring the questions so that they appear in the order in which the course was taught, or at least in the order in which the course books outlined each section. And this is true of part 1 of the physics paper, where it broadly follows this course structure by grouping questions on our dynamic universe first, then the particles and waves content, finally followed by the electricity materials. And that can be super helpful in getting your brain aligned to the parts of the course, and also help you with the parts of the course you aren't as strong at. Paper 2 mixes it up a bit, and each question may pull from different parts of the course. Section 2, not paper 2. So be aware of that. So what's a good strategy? Well, it's useful to understand that there are only so many ways in which questions can be asked. And by looking back over previous exams and the questions that were presented in textbooks, you can be certain that most of the questions you see in the exams will be in a very similar format and along very similar lines. That's why when I'm in the 3 months before an exam, I really concentrate on doing as many past paper questions as possible and all those that I can find in the textbooks. And that's because I'm going to be learning stuff in exactly the way the exam is presenting it in questions. So that's an okay approach if you just want to pass the exam. It's not great, obviously, if you're trying to learn and understand the whole course, in which case I do advocate the proper reading every section, taking notes and trying to commit as much to memory as possible. So what do the papers look like? Well, they're obviously full of questions, but there are some important aspects. For example, the cover sheet shows you how much time you have to sit the exam, 2.5 hours or 150 minutes. There's 130 marks available in 150 minutes. So roughly speaking, part 1 of the paper should take no more than 30 minutes and part 2 for 2 hours. That kind of guideline, although obviously you don't have to strictly stick to that. Then there's the main answer grid details that need to be filled out, and that usually can be done before the exam starts, so you just need to be aware of all the details you need to fill in there. And finally, there's the multiple choice questions, and it's important you read the guidance for these. First of all, black or blue pen only. Secondly, there's only one correct answer, so don't leave any question looking like you've selected more than one. And they offer guidance on how to correct errors you've made by putting a cross through it if you don't want it to be registered, or if you put a cross through and you do want it to be registered, place a tick next to it. Finally, do read these sheets at the start of the exam because guidance may have changed, although that may be pointed out to you or should be pointed out to you beforehand. Also, it's not unusual in exam papers that you'll come across a printing error or an actual error from the exam setters. Don't worry if you come across those. They will be recognised by the examination markers afterwards and you won't be penalised. But in part 2 of the paper, certainly you can call that out by writing a little note on your exam paper. I wouldn't do that for part 1 because of the nature of the multiple choice grid. And so that's a quick fly through why exams are important. 2 strategies, either to pass or learn the content, and also make sure that you read all the guidance in the exam paper before the examination begins. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.